Hi, welcome to this video. This is another training video and session with all that we have. And we want to share today the idea of the presentation. So once you've got the proposal ready to go, what do you do then? Who do you talk to? What's the best way to talk to them? We're going to have kind of an open discussion about that today. And today with me is Kelly Aikman, who is the Executive Director for Portland. And we have Jeff Graham, who's the National Director for Lights There. So welcome, guys. Thanks so much for dropping in. Appreciate it. And let's get right to it. Let me start with you, Jeff. You've been with the company for what? How many years?
Just over 4.
Over 4. Kelly, how about you?
Almost 3 years.
3 years. Okay. So you guys both have some experience at presenting and closing deals, right? Presumably, you've had a couple of deals close over that period of time, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
What do you think in the past the biggest challenge has been in the past? What do you think the biggest challenge was?
What we were presenting, the format in which we presented. It just kept growing to where we were sitting down with somebody to show them upgrade to LED lighting, and we were sometimes 20 plus pages of data, and it was just too much, and people got lost. And that was a big challenge. I think a lot of us learned to skip over pages, which would just then look funny, because then they would have, why didn't we talk about that page? And in addition to that, what made it more difficult, we always, of course, try to insist on presenting to a decision maker, but there'll be times when you can't. And to present to somebody who then has to represent to a decision maker, the more pages, the more loss they get. So that was the biggest challenge I saw.
It was kind of like a contract in the sense that when you skip over pages in a contract, people get real nervous. What are you trying to get me to consent to? So to make it simple, that's the key thing. What was your experience, Kelly?
Well, Jeff stole my 2 answers, because my number 1 was getting in front of decision makers was the biggest struggle I saw, with myself and other reps. And if we didn't, how do we ensure the person we just presented to understands what needs to be shown to their boss? Because it's most likely different than what they were interested in. So showing something concise that would hit home to a CFO or a CEO was really a challenge, like Jeff said, with our 20 plus pages, and having that maintenance person or a GM remember which part of that presentation really needed to be expressed to the decision maker.
One of the things that I've been fortunate to do in my lifetime is teach college. And the class that I taught was advertising. I also taught marketing and business law and a bunch of other stuff. But in the advertising class, my minor is in advertising. One of the things we do is try and focus the ad to someone who has less than a 12th grade education. Now, why is that important? Well, it's even more important today because I find that we're getting to a point where everybody shortcuts. You instead of writing out you put you. Instead of doing okay, you put a hand signal, okay. Those kinds of things. So we're using emojis in place of language. So consequently, people aren't as articulate as they used to be. And we've always had the problem in sales of if we gave a presentation to somebody who wasn't the right person, they're not salespeople. They're not going to present it in the way that we want it presented. So we needed a vehicle that would do that. So let's talk about what we've got. Jeff, you want to lead off?
Yeah, you bet. Are we going to show it on the screen, or do you want me to just kind of explain?
Yeah, let me just bring it up here on the screen. And
basically, as you're doing that, we've gone from 20 plus pages to 4. And it's really just one page that has numbers on it. First page is a picture of the facility, third page is a commitment to move forward. Fourth page is our contact info. So as you see on the screen here, this is really the meat of the proposal. So just imagine 20 pages and now you've got this. It's just, but you know what? All the information is on this one page. Sure, there might get, and we can get into this later, additional info that they're going to want to know that we will have. But this just hits to their bottom line. This hits to what's important to them and creates action. And I'll just go through it. We simply show what they are currently spending now for their lighting costs. And we do that, again, as Kelly mentioned earlier, it's simple math. It's what their kilowatt rate is times the wattage of the lamp that we saw times the number of hours per day those lamps are on. And that will tell us specifically how much they're paying for lights. And then we have a maintenance factor that we put in there, and that's how we come up with the current lighting expense. And just by simply converting that wattage they have to what the new LED wattage will be, we can determine what their new lighting costs will be. And that's shown there to provide where we come up with a 69% savings. And in dollars, that's $1,029 per month. So that's savings to their bottom line. And what they do with that money. So new plan is
let me stop you. Let me stop
Absolutely.
you for a minute, because I think that you know, you and I had a discussion about this early on. I don't think you and I, Kelly, have spoken about this, but this client savings per month, you know, the question is, well, are they saving that, or are they just saving what the cash flow positive is, or something? What's the real number that they save? And I'm going to put on my accounting hat for a minute and just discuss this. So we've got a client savings per month of $1,029. But you still have to pay the energy company, right? Maybe. You still have to pay us, maybe. So what are you going to do with that money? Well, the accounting term is we're going to reallocate that money. Reallocation. So what's the new reallocation? Let's talk about that. Kelly, why don't you pick up with the new plan? Let's talk about that.
Well, the new plan then shows what the company's current or the new LED lighting utility expenses will go down to. So they can look at their current up there, which is the almost 1,500, and what it's going to drop down to, which is just a little over 460. And with that, then we show the monthly payment for the lighting as a service payment that they're going to then send to Lights There, which will show their total monthly savings then. So they can see the end of each month, they'll have $126 that gets put back into their operating budget, or however they want to spend that. It's cash flow positive every single month. And if you do that.
Let's stop right there, because it's important for everybody, particularly the new people, to understand that this is a quotation for lighting as a service, which is our preferred way of selling what we do. Why is it the preferred way? So the options are cash. By the way, the cash price is on the front page and the numbers are reversed. So if it was $10,200, it would just be 00201, and that's the cash price. So somebody could pay for this in cash, and they would eliminate that 903 and just get right down to the 464. So that's one way of reallocating things. Just pay us cash. They can do that. But in this particular time, people are short on money. You know, they've laid people off. They've done everything they can to reduce expenses. And the value of what we come right through the door with is we can permanently reduce your expenses. So this is an example of it. And we've got $126 cash flow. Do they always come out cash flow positive?
Not always.
No? Yeah. So what happens if it doesn't? What's that mean?
It really, go ahead, Kelly.
If their cash price was $50,000 and at the end of the month with lighting as a service, it was cash flow negative 218, it's basically going to cost them an additional $200 per month from what they're already spending to acquire the whole LED lighting package. They can upgrade their whole facility, and it's only $200 more per month from what they're already spending now on their existing utility and maintenance expenses.
Right. And there's a lot of benefits that they get that aren't really attributable money. Things like the one that comes to mind every time for me is with LED lights, you can see the liquid on the floor and maybe not slip and fall. You'd be
Absolutely.
surprised if you knew how much Walmart, for example, pays out every month to slip and fall victims. Costco, same way. Sam's Club, same way. All these major stores, even Macy's. Cash flow negative should not be looked upon by our salespeople as a negative, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You think it's easy to overcome, Jeff?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely is, just in the way that Kelly explained it. It's a small cost to pay for the savings they're going to realize. And keep in mind, this doesn't account for any increase in an electric bill. This is a 5-year program. There's a good chance in 5 years their increased electrical costs will make this cash flow neutral.
Really? The electric companies might raise their price?
They just might.
Really? Seriously?
And there's also other monetary benefits, like you mentioned. That was a monetary benefit by reducing slip and falls. Their work comp costs go down. There's studies that prove productivity increases. So there's studies that say absenteeism decreases. Those are all monetary, benefits to a customer. So that negative $200 in reality is probably cash flow positive at some point because of all the other unintended benefits they're gonna receive.
Well, right up to this point, even the idea of a cash flow positive or negative, is there anything here that the warehouseman couldn't explain to his boss?
Not with this page.
This page is an under 12th grade level that anybody could explain. So it's perfect.
I hope so. I really hope that that's exactly right, because that's always been a problem for salespeople forever. You can't get to the right guy. Well, I'm the guy. You have to talk to me. He has absolutely zero authority, but you say, okay. So you spend time explaining to him and giving him the benefits, and he walks away going, yep, okay, and never remembers the thing. So this is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It's simple math. And here's the thing that I like to think of. If I'm an employee of a company and I find a way for the company to save money, if I don't tell the company, I suddenly become a liability to the company. And people are smart enough to realize that if I want to keep my job and I can take a thing into the boss to show them that I can save money, and this clearly demonstrates that, why wouldn't they take it forward?
That's a very good point. And one thing I'd like to add to what Kelly was talking about, this is an actual something that happened with me where I presented a proposal to an assisted care facility, and they were very interested in it. And I was proposing it to the executive director, who then had to give it to the owner. I just randomly happened to show up a week later just to follow up to see, what kind of discussion she may have had with the owner. And the finance person was in her office discussing, and she had the proposal in her hand to the executive director, and exactly how it all plays out and how they all add up, and made sense to her. But turns out she was unable to convey that to the finance person, because when I was in there, she said, I don't understand this page. Could you please help me with that? I then explained it to her. As I did the executive director, she totally got it. So that one-on-one directly to the person who needs to hear your subject matter is key.
It is key. But I think if we can, I don't want to say dumb down, but if we can make the language simpler, then we have a better shot. If suddenly there's a gatekeeper that keeps us from getting to that next level, they're willing to take our proposal, that's one way to get it in there, right? So we've got something from everything from cash flow positive up that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the rest of it now. Let's talk about that. Kelly, why don't you go ahead and pick up again from first year cash positive. Let's take a look at that.
So the first year cash positive is the monthly savings, obviously, for the year. And we add to that the incentive from the energy trust or the utility company, whichever one it is, that they're willing to put towards this project. So we can show them a total annual savings that they're going to have in their pocket. So we show the first year cash flow that they have from the monthly savings of the 126 equals the $1,500, a little over $1,500. And the utilities will have an incentive that they will pay the customer back after completing this project. And in this example, it's almost $21,000. So in their first year, they're going to have cash, additional cash to their bottom line of over $22,000. And we show them in the graph below there, depending on what their net profit is, what they would have to increase their revenue by to equal that same savings for the year.
Okay,
and
let's stop right there. So in other words, if they don't take advantage of the savings that we've put in here, that's the cash flow positive and the financial incentive from the trust or the utility or whatever that entity is. If they don't take advantage of that, then there's a negative implication, isn't there?
Absolutely there is.
Okay, and so what we've displayed here, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9, is simply a representation of net profit. The average corporation, publicly traded corporation in America, generates a 3% net profit. That's net. Most small business owners could generate more, except they live out of the bank account. So by the time it actually gets to their accountant, it's the same situation. It's still a small amount of money. They can't just flow right straight to the bottom line.
That's right.
And it gets a little better as you get to 9%, but all anybody has to do is divide one into the other. So if you take 22,412 divided by 0.03 or 0.09, that's going to give you the number. So if somebody tells you it's 15%, I get 15%. Wonderful. So let's figure that out. So 22,412 divided by 15%, what's that number? You feel like you can do, oh, wait, that's over $100,000. So you've got a plan to get over $100,000 in business. Good on you. That's great. But that's the kind of thing that we can do then. So is this talk about now, how do we present it? Do we present it to a gatekeeper? Do we present it directly to the CEO, CFO? Do we email them? Do we send it up in smoke signals over the transom in mail? How is it? What's the best way to do this? And is there a best way?
I think a best way is going to depend on the customer. Like Jeff said, right now, businesses are just starting to open. They may be offended that a sales rep is trying to come in there right now. With the ability to send the videos that we've done through the Bonbon videos and getting it directly to a C-level is huge. And they don't have all day to look at a video. This is very simple, precise, and concise for them to see that it's in their best interest to look at this. I mean, their job is to make money for the stockholders or the board of directors or for profit sharing, whatever it might be. If there's something that shows substantial savings like this, it's in their best interest to look at this. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about that email for a minute. There's a program that all of you can get called Bomb, and it attaches to your Gmail. and it allows you to create a simple video. Okay, if you're going to present this, there's a program called Bomb, which simply goes into your Gmail, and you can use it to create a small video, very small video. And it would look something like this. You can take the paddles that we have, everyone has access to these, and you do something like this. And just the first few milliseconds, that's what it shows. And one of the ways in which we can get a presentation to whoever it needs to go to is via email. And as you said, Kelly, it might be a situation where they'd be offended if we just literally showed up, tried to make a presentation. This poor guy's suffering already, and you're just taking time from him, his ability to sell, his ability to get more business. So we can send an email, and here's what it looks like. I'm going to share my screen with you right now. And this is my lights there, Gmail. And as you can see, I've composed a message and it comes up like this. You've all seen that. And then it comes on to this, and you press that. And if I do, it'll cut off my Zoom, so I'm not going to, but that's going to create a small video for you. And the receiver is going to see something that looks like this. First of all, the video that's created takes the first few milliseconds and it just repeats them in a loop. So when you send the email, that's what they see. So if there's a little motion in it, it really comes out well. So they would see something that looks like this. Hi, Kelly. Hey, it's DR from Lights There. I just want to let you know that your proposal's ready. It's right below this little video, and I think you're going to find it fantastic. As you saw on this screen on the little board, you're looking at a reduction of $2,969 in your energy bill and a rebate from the energy company of $40,000. That's pretty substantial. You look at that combined for the year. So anyway, take a look at it. It's in the proposal just below this, and I'll get in touch with you within the next couple of days. Thanks so much for your time. What did that take? 30 seconds, 25 seconds, something like that. So that's a really quick way to get the message over to them. So that's one way to do it. Jeff, what's another way?
I knock on the door.
Yeah, but Kelly just pointed out that might be a bad way to do it. So what's another way to do it? We could just, for example, we could just call them and say, Kelly, I've got your proposal ready. You may recall we went in and did a survey, and I've got that proposal ready. I'm just going to email it over to you, and then we'll talk about it on the phone. Simple.
But one thing to keep in mind, what we're getting away from here is we're skipping that there was an original contact to say, hey, this is ready because you had us do the survey.
Well, that's right. We're just focused on the presentation. That's all we're focused on. There's another whole thing called Survey Says that my friend Jeff Graham spent a lot of time doing.
So I'm in the wrong video.
We're focusing on the presentation. We're assuming that they remember us. I don't know, with this pandemic, it may have been months ago. You remember me? I have no clue. Who the hell are you? Yeah, it could be any of those things. But we could just give them a call, right? And just kind of go over it by the phone, and then just email it with or without that bomb attachment.
Yeah, the best way to do it from history will tell that the most success I ever have had, and I ever have, is when I'm sitting down face to face with the decision maker.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it. That's I mean, it's very rare in what we sell that you get a first call close. And I've had a number of those when I'm dealing with the decision maker. If I do a great job of presenting it in a way that's easy for them to understand and makes sense and affects their bottom line, they get that, why wait? And
Kelly, have you had one call closes as well?
It was so close. I can count it as a one call close.
Okay, so close. All right.
Getting the credit app signed, to me, is a one call close if they're willing to move forward with that. They basically said, yes, let's do the credit app. If it's approved, it's done. So that's one thing I like to try to do as well. If we're looking at a monthly payment option, let's get the credit app signed and move forward that way.
And that's the assumption we're making with the proposals that we're sending out now, is that there's going to be a credit app completed. So it's a simple step for them to take when we present these numbers and say, look, if you agree that this will work for you and that you understand that there's nothing out of pocket on your part, let's just turn to page 3. I just need you to sign this credit app and give me a little bit of information. And still, by the way, you're still not fully obligated. We'll get that contract prepared. Then we can sit down and talk about the contract, make sure it fits your needs. So we still have that option. Okay, what else needs to be said about the presentation?
You gotta be able to read upside down, because if you're sitting at a CEO's desk, one thing we've learned, and I've learned over my lifetime of sales, you just have one presentation. You don't have a copy and they don't have a copy. They then take over and have control. You have control when it's your copy and you're going through it. So, you learn to read upside down, not a problem. But as long now that we have 4 pages, think about trying to read 20 pages upside down. It was a challenge. I think Kelly will agree. So
yes.
And the print, and the print's
exactly.
Big. Yeah,
that's right. And what I would suggest also is just to ask them, hey, this is going to take about 10 minutes, or let's say 20 minutes. I just want to make sure you've got the time right now to do that, and that you've got a commitment from them, and they're engaged.
There's a popular insurance company right now that's advertising and has been for several years. Just give us 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I have been using that when I talk to people. I just say, look, give me 15 minutes. If I don't make sense in 15 minutes, don't talk to me anymore. I get it. I'll go away and you go back to what you're doing. But I think in 15 minutes, I can convince you, particularly with this shorter form, that this is of benefit to you, and you at least need to consider it. Then if the conversation goes 30 minutes or 45, it's on them, not on you. You gave them 15 minutes. So
that's right. And the other thing, and I think this is obvious, but I've seen people not do this, and that is, you let them know, okay, thank you for your time, complete the survey. We'll be in touch within a week's time to go over the presentation. You never want to just show up and try and catch them there. You want to have an appointment scheduled. If you just show up, they weren't planning on it. Their day is already set in their mind. Now they've stopped to listen to something they weren't ready for. They're not going to be 100% engaged. So make sure you have an appointment and that they're ready for you.
Okay. Kelly, what about you? Any parting words? Any words of wisdom?
Learn from my own experience and seen from many others as far as reviewing the presentation before you present it. That way you're not presenting going, oops, there's an error. So if there is some sort of error, that can be caught before you're presenting. I've seen that happen many times because people just don't take the 10, 15 minutes to go over it. And also make sure you truly understand how we calculate utility savings and maintenance savings. I mean, it is utility mathematical calculation, and it's as good as the information they gave us as far as their hours. So that is their accurate information that they able to understand and explain the maintenance. We see a lot of times they'll have their own maintenance folks doing the lighting themselves and even changing out ballast. Well, they don't look at that person's labor. And I'd say about every 1 out of 2 go, oh, I never really thought about that. I mean, his time or her time could be spent doing other things instead of lighting. And they didn't take into consideration, you're paying that person $30 an hour to change out that lamp, and it took however much time. So making sure they truly comprehend it's not just lamps that they're buying, it's the maintenance person's time of replacing the ballast and lamps in that maintenance calculation.
And every time that maintenance person goes up and down the ladder, it's also one more little risk that they've added to the
Yes.
potential of their bottom line. Thanks very much. I can't promise you that we won't redo this again because of such unusual circumstances with this pandemic that we're Delhi
Hello.
and Jeff. Jeff
Hi.
is our national director. Thank
Thanks
you so
again for
much.
listening.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All the best.